The champagne flute shattered against the tiled floor of the hacienda's grand salon, its golden liquid pooling like spilled sunlight amid the shards of crystal. "You're not seriously asking me to do this, Papa," Aubrey hissed, her voice cracking like thunder over the Andalusian hills outside, where olive groves whispered secrets to the wind. In that instant, the weight of her family's crumbling legacy crashed down, heavier than the ancient beams overhead, forcing her to confront the lie she'd spun for years, a fabricated love to shield her conservative Catholic kin from the truth of her wandering heart. Aubrey Vargas had always been the black sheep of the Vargas dynasty, the one who traded Seville's shadowed alleys for Austin's neon haze, chasing freelance graphic design gigs that paid in freedom rather than fortunes. Back home in the sun-baked hills of rural Andalusia, where her family's vineyard empire had weathered wars, recessions, and her own teenage rebellions, the air still carried the scent of ripening grapes and unspoken expectations. At 28, with her auburn curls perpetually escaping a messy bun and her green eyes sharp as the espadas de Toledo her abuelo once forged, Aubrey had learned early that survival meant adaptation. And so, 5 years ago, when her parents discovered a crumpled love letter in her suitcase, not from a suitor, but a half-forgotten fling with a barista named Lena, she'd improvised. "It's not what you think," she'd said, voice steady as she wove the tale. "I'm with her. For real." Lena became the phantom girlfriend, a ghost sustained by fabricated texts and staged photos, all to preserve the fragile peace in a household where tradition was gospel and deviation was damnation. It worked, for a while. Her mama's rosary beads clicked a little less frantically at family dinners, and Papa's stern lectures softened into awkward nods of acceptance. "As long as you're happy, mi hija," he'd grumbled, though his eyes lingered on the ledger books, red with debt from a blight that had ravaged the vines 2 harvests running. The Vargas estate, El Corazón de Andalusia, wasn't just land, it was legacy, a sprawling 200-acre testament to Spanish nobility that now teetered on bankruptcy. Banks in Madrid turned them away, and whispers of foreclosure echoed through the village like tolling bells. That's when Audrey Hale entered the picture, not with a bang but a calculated whisper from across the Atlantic. A 32-year-old Texan powerhouse, Audrey had built Hale Enterprises from a dusty feed store in Lubbock into a multi-million-dollar agribusiness empire, specializing in sustainable wine imports. Tall and unyielding as a lone mesquite tree, with jet black hair pulled into a severe chignon that accentuated her angular cheekbones and ice-blue eyes, she exuded the kind of control that turned boardrooms into battlegrounds. Divorced young from a fleeting marriage to a rodeo star, rumors swirled of his infidelity, her indifference. Audrey had no time for sentiment, her world was metrics, mergers, and the relentless pursuit of vertical integration. When her scouts flagged El Corazón as a distressed asset ripe for acquisition, she saw opportunity, prime terroir for her premium rose line, a foothold in Europe's old-world charm to dazzle Wall Street investors. But Audrey Hale didn't do hostile takeovers. She preferred alliances sealed with rings and vows. And in a twist of irony that felt scripted by some cruel telenovela god, the alliance required a bride, Aubrey. It started with a phone call, Papa's voice gravelly over the crackle of the line from his study in the hacienda. "Aubrey, Carino, we need to talk. About the future." She'd flown in from Austin the next day, jet-lagged and irritable, only to find the salon transformed into a war room. Maps of the vineyard sprawled across the oak table, flanked by contracts thicker than her abuela's prayer book. Her parents sat rigid, Mama's hands clasped white-knuckled around a crucifix, Papa's mustache twitching like a live wire. "Miss Hale has made an offer," Papa explained, sliding a folder toward her. "Not just money, a partnership. She'll inject capital, modernize the operations, save the estate. In return, a marriage of convenience." Aubrey's laugh was brittle, echoing off the frescoed walls depicting saints and sinners. "Marriage? To a woman I've never met. Papa, this isn't the 1800s. And I'm already with your friend," Mama interjected softly, her dark eyes pleading. "We know. But this is different. It's business, mi amor. For the family." The lie she'd crafted for peace now chained her to a stranger. Audrey's proposal outlined it clinically, a 2-year union, public displays of affection to sell the narrative, shared residency in a neutral zone, perhaps Austin, to keep Aubrey's roots intact. Prenup ironclad, exit clause clean. No passion required, just performance. But as Aubrey scanned the fine print, her stomach twisted. Clause 7.2, spouse shall relocate as directed for business exigencies. Audrey's world was Texas-sized, demanding. She met her in Seville 2 weeks later, under the orange trees of the Alcazar, where Moorish arches framed a sky bruised purple by dusk. Audrey arrived in a sleek black Audi, stepping out in pressed slacks and a silk blouse the color of aged Merlot, her presence sucking the oxygen from the air. Up close, she was less fortress, more fault line, faint laugh lines crinkling her eyes when she extended a hand, firm but not crushing. Aubrey Vargas. I've heard intriguing things. The intriguing things hung between them like smoke from a hidden fire. Over tapas at a corner bodega, patatas bravas sharp with paprika, albondigas swimming in tomato silk, Aubrey probed. So, you're okay with this? Faking it for vines and vintages. Audrey's fork paused mid-air, her blue eyes locking on Aubrey's with the precision of a hawk. I'm okay with results. Your family's land is poetry and soil, mine is the prose that pays. And you? She leaned in, voice dropping to a velvet rumble. What's a girl like you, artist in the city, rebel in the vines, doing tying the knot for pesos? Aubrey shrugged, masking the flutter in her chest with a sip of Rioja. Family peace. Turns out, my white lie became their lifeline. She didn't mention the ache of authenticity, the nights in Austin staring at Lena's faded texts, wondering if freedom was just another cage. By month's end, the engagement was announced in the local gazette, a grainy photo of them toasting under the estate's wrought iron gates. Social media buzzed, Aubrey's Austin friends cheered the bold queer love story, her parents exhaled in relief. But as wedding plans steamrolled, caterers from Barcelona, a justice of the peace with a drawl thicker than molasses, Aubrey felt the noose tighten. Audrey's calls grew frequent, laced with directives, wear the sapphire gown, it photographs better. Smile wider at the rehearsal, investors are watching. Control wasn't cruelty, but it was constant, a tide eroding Aubrey's edges. The ceremony unfolded on a crisp October morning at El Corazon, the vineyard rows standing sentinel like green soldiers under a cerulean sky. Aubrey walked the aisle alone, no Lena, no ghosts, her simple white sundress whispering against the grass, wildflowers tucked into her curls. Audrey waited at the arbor, radiant in a tailored ivory suit, her chignon softened with tendrils escaping like concessions to chaos. Vows exchanged were rote, rings cold bands of platinum, but when their hands brushed, a spark jumped, static or something deeper, Aubrey couldn't tell. The reception blurred into laughter and Lorca toasts, but as dusk fell, Audrey pulled her aside to the overlooking terrace. The sun dipped behind the Sierra Nevada, painting the horizon in fire. This doesn't have to be hell, Audrey murmured, her Texas twang wrapping around the words like barbed wire laced with honey. We could make it real. If you want. Aubrey's heart stuttered. In Audrey's gaze, she saw not just the dealmaker, but a woman starved for connection, her empire a shield against solitude. For the first time, the lie felt like possibility. Maybe, Aubrey whispered, leaning closer. Their lips met tentatively, tasting of salt and sangria, a kiss that bridged oceans, from Andalusian soil to Lone Star steel. But peace, Aubrey learned, was as fleeting as a siesta. 3 months into their Austin loft, high-rise views of the Colorado River, minimalist decor screaming Audrey's influence, the cracks spiderwebbed. Audrey's days bled into nights at the office, mergers devouring her sleep, leaving Aubrey sketching logos for boutique clients in the sterile silence. It's temporary, Audrey would say, pecking her cheek like a checkbox. Once the vineyard stabilized. Yet the directives escalated. A gala in Dallas required Aubrey's arm candy presence, a vineyard audit in Cordoba demanded her wifely input on PR photos. Aubrey's freelance dried up under the shadow of expectations, her canvases gathering dust. One evening, scrolling Instagram in the dim glow of their king bed, she stumbled on a tagged photo. Audrey at a Houston fundraiser, arms slung around a statuesque blonde, Elena Vargas, a distant cousin from Madrid, all sleek bob and designer labels. The caption, old flames and new vintages. Hail hearts. Jealousy hit like habanero heat, irrational and scorching. Was this the betrayal? Or just the prelude? The next morning, over black coffee in their granite kitchen, Aubrey confronted her. Who's Elena? And don't feed me boardroom bullshit. Audrey's mug clattered, coffee sloshing like accusation. Her blue eyes flashed, defensive, then dimming to regret. A mistake. From before us. She reached out about a supplier deal, let it linger. Nostalgia, I guess. She reached for Aubrey's hand, but Aubrey yanked back, the ring biting into her palm. Nostalgia. We're built on fakes, Audrey. My fake lesbian act for family, your fake merger for money. What's real here? Tears pricked, hot as the Texas sun baking the windows. Audrey stood, her height casting a long shadow. I thought we were building something. That kiss in the vines, it wasn't scripted. Her voice broke, raw as exposed roots. I've been alone so long, controlling everything to not lose. But you make me want to let go. The confession hung, a lifeline or a noose. Aubrey wanted to believe, to melt into those arms that commanded empires yet trembled now. But doubt festered, fed by late nights and Elena's lingering texts, innocent queries about cork yields, Audrey claimed, but the subtext screamed sabotage. Weeks blurred into a tense détente. They traveled to El Corazon for the spring harvest, the air thick with fermenting promise. Amid the workers' songs and the crush of grapes underfoot, something shifted. Aubrey caught Audrey not directing, but listening, her hand stained purple as she helped press the vintage, laughing when juice splashed her blouse. One night, under a canopy of stars that rivaled the Milky Way, they walked the moonlit rows. I ended it with Elena, Audrey said quietly, stopping to pluck a leaf, twirling it like a confession. Permanently. Because this, us, it's not fake anymore. Not for me. Aubrey's throat tightened. Then prove it. Let me in. Not just the wife role, the real you. Fears, failures, the Texas girl who dreamed bigger than her daddy's ranch. Audrey's eyes glistened, the mighty crumbling. I was 15 when I came out. Daddy disowned me faster than a bad crop. Built Hale to prove I didn't need him. But it left me hollow. She stepped closer, forehead to Aubrey's. You're feeling that, Aubrey. If you'll let me. Their embrace was fierce, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces forged in fire, Andalusian warmth meeting Texan steel. Lips met with hunger born of honesty, hands tracing scars both seen and unseen. It was the first real kiss, unscripted and searing, the vineyard bearing witness. But betrayal, like blight, strikes silent. Back in Austin, as their first anniversary loomed, Aubrey uncovered the ledger Audrey had hidden in her briefcase. El Corazon's partnership was a slow swallow, Hale Enterprises absorbing shares quarter by quarter, the prenup's fine print a Trojan horse for full ownership. Papa's calls grew frantic, she's buying us out, hija. Piece by piece. And Mama's prayers turned to pleas. Confrontation erupted in their loft, rain lashing the floor-to-ceiling windows like judgment. You lied, Aubrey hurled, the contract pages fluttering like wounded birds. This wasn't alliance, it was annihilation. Audrey's face drained of color, her control fracturing. It was protection. The banks were circling, I bought time, turned debt to profit. For us, for the life we could have. She advanced, desperate. I love you, Aubrey. Not the land, not the lie, you. The words landed like grace, but too late. Betrayal's poison coursed deep, eroding trust. Love? Or leverage? Aubrey whispered, backing toward the door, her ring glinting mockingly. In the storm's howl, Audrey sank to her knees, the Titan humbled. Stay. Fight with me. We rewrite this, together. But Aubrey fled into the night, cab lights blurring through tears, racing toward the airport and a red eye to Seville. The plane's hum couldn't drown the echo. Was it love, or just another performance? El Corazon welcomed her with open arms, but hollow, vines thriving under Hale's tech, workers praising the savior she'd wed. Months passed in exile. Aubrey threw herself into the soil, hands calloused from harvest, heart scarred from fracture. Letters from Audrey arrived like monsoon rains, apologies scrawled in elegant script, blueprints for a co-owned future, photos of Austin sunsets with notes, "This one's for you." One evening, as thunder rumbled over the Sierra, a package thumped on the hacienda steps, a leather-bound journal, Audrey's handwriting filling its pages, childhood dreams of vineyards, fears of loss, verses penned about a woman with green eyes who taught her surrender. Papa found her there, soaked and sobbing amid the pages. "Mi hija," he said gently, no judgment in his eyes. "Love isn't vines or vows. It's roots. And sometimes, you gotta prune to grow." Forgiveness bloomed slow as dawn. Aubrey flew back, not for merger or marriage, but reckoning. She found Audrey at the ranch's edge, silhouetted against the plains, her blazer discarded, shirt sleeves rolled in rare disarray. No words at first, just a shared gaze across the wildflowers, the air electric with what-ifs. "I sold the controlling shares back," Audrey said finally, voice steady as prairie wind. "To your family. No strings. Just us, if you want." Aubrey stepped forward, heart pounding like fiesta drums. "I want real. No fakes, no deals. Just you and me, flaws, fights, the whole messy harvest." Their reunion was no fairy tale kiss, but a collision, tentative hands, shared breaths, tears mingling with laughter as they sank into the grass. Under that lone oak, with the sun dipping low, they rebuilt, not on contracts, but confessions. The wedding vow renewed a year later was simple, whispered in a Seville chapel, "I choose you, every day, roots and all." El Corazon flourished, a hybrid of old world and new, sustainable tech from Texas, soul from Spain. Aubrey's designs graced the labels, Audrey's mergers softened by heart. And in quiet moments, tracing each other's lines, they knew, peace wasn't faked, it was forged, one vulnerable truth at a time.